All right. Hey, good morning. You are here on the chain. This is Jeff. We are going to have a great morning because we're going to get into some of the response from the SEC to Ripple. We want to talk a little bit more about the passion and exuberance that is XRP, the XRP ledger, all of that other good stuff. How does it all intertwine into the crypto space, and how is cryptocurrency and DeFi actually going to save economies on a global scale? Forget about IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and SDR bailouts and all that stuff. It is cryptocurrency and DeFi that is actually going to make the biggest impact in this space. So let's cover all of that and a lot more. I think we got to get started. So let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
All right. So just a quick shout out here. Quick shout out to number one in the stream this morning, Moto Yoda. Are we down with OTC? We are down with OTC. So welcome. Glad you made it. 416 all the way from, what was that, Toronto? 416. So what do we got? We got Illinois in the house with Invasion Studios. So we are going to get into some of the feedback, some of the response, some of the commentary from the SEC to Ripple. Now, we do know that there was some commentary, there was some response. Want to get into that a little bit. I think it's important. Let's start off. Let me see if I can open this one up here. All right, hang on a second. Let me share my screen and then we're going to get right into it. Let's see here. Here we go. All right, so this is the response from the SEC to Ripple. So SEC starts out, we don't feel that's relevant to the matter at hand, especially considering the context of Section 589. Now, you guys know Section 5.8, subsection 9, right? We both know that the fair notice defense will fail, but we're willing to extend the olive branch nonetheless. So, here we definitely have, some very gracious SEC. They're quoting this section 5.89, which, maybe many of you guys are already familiar with if you've already read through it. And so they go on, and they're obviously, out there. They want to reach out to Ripple. They're trying to really come to terms here. So let's see what else they say. So Ripple responds, how magnanimous of you. So the SEC response to that is, don't get cute. The way we see it, you're about to lose your asses. Here's the offer: 3.5 billion wired to our offshore account, probably a Bitcoin account. Upon confirmation of clearance within 7 to 10 days, we'll fully drop the case. So there you go, right? A offshore account. The SEC is willing to settle, but they do want that moved offshore to an offshore account someplace. And obviously, they're going to be using Swift in 7 to 10 days. So Ripple's response here, if in some bizarre universe we did agree to pay such an exorbitant amount, we would use RippleNet and source the liquidity through XRP. Now, that only makes sense, right? We definitely would want to make sure that that Ripple would use their own platform, wouldn't want to use the Swift platform that's going to take 7 to 10 days. They go on, you'd have your 3.5 billion settled in 3 seconds. That's XRP's utility as a bridge currency, but you'll never get to experience it. Why? Because you're criminals. You criminals are not going to get one dime from us. That was awesome. This is, yes. So this was XRP Standard Productions. Excellent job on that one. I love that one. I had to read that. That was just outstanding. So there were some really good responses here. I love section 5.89, subsection 9. So good stuff, though. But This guy, Alonzo, is saying, friend, I started to follow you because I like XRP, but these fake news texts end up damaging the currency because I take credit from the currency. Sir, be careful. You're moving the XRP price and I'm short. So it's really cool. Lots of interesting responses to that. But anyhow, I thought that was a great place to start. But let me move on. I want to make sure you guys run out there, grab your espresso, grab your coffee. If you haven't grabbed your coffee yet, then you're going to want to, because we have so much to get into, and we're going to dig in because we need to talk about the impact of cryptocurrency, the impact that's happening right now as inflation takes hold, probably on a global scale, definitely in the US, as this government and this administration completely ignores and tries to undermine the reality of inflation taking root here in the US. So we want to talk about that a little bit. And we've got a Twitch follower over here, DVA Mechanics. What is up? So everyone else, most are on YouTube. Everything normally tunes in from Twitch as well. Good stuff. Exactly. All comedy, all satire. All right, so let's get into the real one here. So there's a great tweet that came out here. Let me see if we can find it. Here we go. So response here, and I want to read through this because there's definitely some really key points in here. And James here, he says SEC files opposition to Ripple's request to seal exhibits. Now we want to go through and look at how the SEC responded to Ripple's request. They want to seal certain statements, and so here we have noting great deal of public interest. So the SEC in this response here, actually, or in their, they filed the opposition to Ripple's request. They actually point out the numbers of people that are tuning in, that are interested in listening in on this case. For some reason, as we read into this, we're going to come out with this conclusion that the SEC actually believes that all those that are tuning in on their behalf because of some concern that, they're looking out for the investors. And that's what we want to look at. Is that the case? Is there this twist of narrative that we want to focus in on? So got Oscar Nash coming in all the way from Colorado and Jay out from Norway. So what's up, Jay? Norway's a great place. Visited over there. Went from Bergen and then covered. We were going to go north. We ended up going south from Bergen and drove. And what a great place. More waterfalls like every 5 minutes in Norway. It's amazing. Norway's a great place. And then when you get over to Iceland, I thought some of the waterfalls over in Norway were impressive, but pretty much everywhere we went around Norway, waterfalls everywhere. Then you go over to Iceland, and say the waterfalls there are just like out of control. It's amazing. So, all right, let's pull this up. Here we go. Sup, Mastiff Pitbull, all the way from Louisiana. So here we go. So now there are a few things, as we get into this. It's interesting because the SEC has been upsetting the court with many of their requests. And just the way they've carried on, the judge has had to scold the SEC on numerous occasions. And so now, the SEC at the same point, I think they're afraid of discovery on them. They don't want to, share all the documents regarding all the, inside discussions over Ethereum and Bitcoin and others. But yet, they're really pressing to have Ripple release certain documents back from 2012, 2013. And 2012, 2013, there wasn't an attorney on the planet that really had a clear understanding of the digital asset space. Everybody was relatively new to it. Ripple was still relatively new to utilizing and building out their solution and using the cryptocurrency XRP, or the digital asset XRP, as part of what their full use case was going to be within the Ripple net going after Swift. You had Bitcoin that had just been out for a couple years at that point. Everything is in its infancy at this stage. And so the SEC wants to look back at some documents from that period of time, which was between an attorney and a client, and they want to put all of this out on the table. Now, it's interesting because, as they really dig in and they start, pulling out, all these different case history, whatever. So here we have, so the SEC respectfully requests that Ripple's blanket motion to seal, which would seal every document filed in this highly contested case that has drawn a significant amount of public interest, be denied. So obviously, they want, they want their cake. They want to eat it too. Who said that? Oh, there, Moto Yoda, Adam. Who else said cake? But anyhow, here's your cake. You have some cake, whatever. But the SEC basically wants everything out of this. They want to make sure that they don't have to reveal too much on their side, but yet they want Ripple to share things that came from legal intercommunication from 2012. So we're talking about documents from 9 years ago. 9 years ago. That's the only thing. The only thing in all of these years, in the past 8-9 years, the only thing that they want to go after is a document from 2012 where it's assumed that in this document, in this memoranda, the attorney was expressing some commentary on the possibility that XRP might be a security, or they might be selling an unregistered security. But I don't know what the exact language was, but they were just pointing out that might be the case. They don't know. Nobody knew at that point. And it wasn't a very clear cut, but yet you could see how the SEC's case, from my perspective, I'm not an attorney. I'm just looking and reading and trying to analyze what this thought process is that might be going through their brain. That's it. So here we have 8 years, basically SEC silence, radio silence. Now all of a sudden, the SEC is bringing their case. We have Gensler coming out, as we played the other night. We were playing the commentary from Gensler, where we're saying there's thousands of cryptocurrencies out there, but we've only been able to bring a case against 75. They've only been able to go after 75 of all the cryptocurrencies, and meaning that their objective is to target and go after every one of the thousands or whatever that they have on this list. Right now is one of the most important cases in front of them, which is Ripple, SEC v. Ripple. And it's really staggering, the way that they're twisting this narrative. It's mind-boggling to me. So, all right, let's go back to this again. Hang on. There we go. The SEC agrees that these exhibits should be sealed in the interim pending judge's decision, and then sealed or unsealed in accordance with it. So it's interesting that the SEC is actually saying that they'll agree to seal them until there's a decision from the judge as to whether or not to seal or unseal. So it's just kind of funny. I don't know. I read through this. In addition, as the SEC told Ripple during the meet and confer, the SEC does not object to the sealing of these. Whatever. Okay, that's this. The key document here. Let's get out of this one. Oh yeah, I may just switch over. I don't know. Let's just get out of it. Let's open this one, because this one I go through it, and what I was really singling out, which I think is they go down, look, Ripple's blanket sealing request is inconsistent with the requirement that any sealing be narrowly tailored, as well as with Judge Torres and this court's individual rules governing seal. And then they go into that whole thing. But this is what I wanted to focus on. So as this court has repeatedly observed, there is a great deal of public interest in this case. Noting that 500 people attended the April 6th conference, and they set up a conference call for about 4,000 callers. Ripple has proposed that this litigation serve as a public referendum on the SEC's decision to file this lawsuit. So now, again, I think they're trying to flip this narrative. They're trying to do two things here, in my opinion, based on this commentary. Again, not an attorney. I'm just reading this as, as a layman here, but, look at it from this perspective, that they're highlighting and underscoring how many people are interested in this case. And they're basically saying that, there's a lot of people that want to see what the outcome is. There's a lot of people that might be siding with the SEC here. Why else underscore this? Now, they then bring up as trying to single out that somehow Ripple is now doing something negatively. So they're saying Ripple has proposed that this litigation serve as public referendum on the decision, not on the lawsuit, but on the SEC's decision to file the lawsuit. So as though all these people coming on, is Ripple trying to flip this narrative on the SEC that just the mere fact that the SEC brought the lawsuit to begin with is the negative, is what they want to gang up on, is what they want to beat up on. So the SEC is now trying to play some, underdog card as though they're somehow a victim in this entire scenario. That's how I read it. Maybe an attorney would read it differently, but that's how I'm understanding, what they're insinuating here. So then it goes on, but Ripple's overbroad ceiling request would have the effect of allowing Ripple to pick and choose what information the public is allowed to see about the parties' arguments and should be rejected. So now then they're saying that, so they're doing all of this, but now Ripple is in this idea of ceiling. They actually want to hide information from the public, that they want to somehow manipulate all these people that are interested, all these people that Ripple is trying to use against the SEC, because again, the SEC is trying to play the victim card here. They want to be a victim in this entire scenario because of what's happening. They feel that public sentiment is turned on them completely, and they're supposed to be protecting the retail investor. So being that they're not protecting the retail investor, being that they ignored back in December when they filed the case and moved forward from there, there was really no thought about the detrimental impact on the retail investor, because the retail investor at this point in XRP was basically collateral damage. At the overall, you have the SEC. There were multiple things going on here at play, and we've talked about this a lot, on this channel, but we've looked at this from multiple perspectives, that there's a political play here. There was Jay Clayton leaving the SEC, dumping a hand grenade back in December, dumping a hand grenade on whoever was going to pick this up, knowing full well that there would not be, significant movement in the case against Ripple until the next administration came into power. And so there would be a new chair of the SEC, and potentially, all new, there'd be new attorneys, there would be a whole new structure, potential infrastructure run by a new chair selected by the next administration. So there's that side of it, a big hand grenade put out there. The other part of it was Jay Clayton understanding that Congress had been dragging their feet, and they had to have a power move here in order to spur this idea of, digital asset and cryptocurrency getting some regulatory clarity. And again, collateral damage, but threw it out there. Now, then, you take a few steps forward, or fast forward to, the new administration, the new chair coming in, all of this, the new momentum. Now the SEC is taking a different tone. So now they've been backpedaling, trying to figure out, well, how do we manage this case? Do we come out and try to settle the case, or do we pursue it? Now, this administration, and with Gensler in at the helm, based on his feedback and his commentary, we know that they want to pursue the case. We know they want to get potentially more aggressive with how they're going to potentially be treating cases that may or may not be a security. So this is all happening in this vacuum without having any form of regulatory clarity on the books being presented by Congress, because you have the SEC basically making decisions and doing things almost like, kind of with, anyhow. So now we see, throughout all this, in my opinion, the way I'm analyzing it, right? I'm analyzing this again, is that the SEC trying to play the victim card, so they're trying to play the victim card. Now they're turning the table on Ripple and making Ripple the bad guy, single out the fact that there's so many people that are interested in this case that somehow that's a bad thing, that there's so much public focus here. And again, they want this litigation to serve as a public referendum. Why shouldn't it be? Why shouldn't this be a public referendum on how the SEC acts? I mean, 100%, regardless of what they do, regardless of what happens at this point, the fact that it's the first time, probably, maybe ever, I don't know, that so many people have tuned in to a case over something in support of the one that's getting sued by the SEC. Many times the SEC goes after a company and all the investors are like, hey, yeah, hell yeah, we're going to get something out of this company now because the SEC's finally taken a stance. Now, in this scenario, it's the exact opposite. You have all these people in the crypto space that are looking at this and they're like, what the heck is going on? The SEC has kind of lost their way. They haven't approached this. Yes, 100%, regardless of what the SEC says, regardless of what Ripple wants to do, this is 100% a referendum on how the SEC acts. And the judge is going to have to treat it as such because it is a referendum on them, So we got to figure out exactly, how the outcome will be. The lawsuit, the way it was filed, the purpose it was filed, and maybe again, you go back to claim it had to get filed. Why did it have to get filed? Because the Congress has been dragging their feet and the crypto space needs to be pushed forward at a faster pace than what it was going at. So you throw this hand grenade out there, probably knowing that Ripple is probably in a power position to begin with, probably going to come out well, may have to pay a fine. At the end of the day, there'll be some regulatory normalcy and regulatory clarity. So then we go forward, and then it says, and then they talk about, so again, the victim. So Ripple's overbroad ceiling request would have the effect of allowing them to pick and choose. So again, now trying to separate, they want to separate the public from Ripple, those that are saying, hey, we're behind this. We want to see what's happening with this. And now they're trying to create a rift, a divide. So here it says, allowing more material to be sealed than is strictly necessary also will have the effect of limiting the information the public can see regarding the court's decision in this matter. So really, the major impetus was all over that 2012 document. And we'll see as it goes forward. But I'm sure from the SEC side, there's also documents that were trying to be shown as well that would put them in a bad light. This whole thing. So there's so much in this, but it's amazing as you really start reading into just the language, the tone, the ideas, all these different things that are happening, overall and look at this. Ripple also does not hesitate to public comment on the lawsuit's merits. And then they highlight, all these times that look, but Garland House, but the SEC is making the assertion that there are investment contracts, that Ripple sells XRP to our customers is actually an investment contract. That isn't true. If you buy XRP, you don't have ownership of Ripple. And ironically, you have XRP owners who have tried to sue the SEC for even bringing the case. So now the SEC is trying to single them out, that they're making public comments on this, and somehow that's bad, that they're standing up for themselves. So they even get into Alderati, Ripple general counsel, statements that he had made. Look at this, commenting on the complaints allegation. As always, the SEC cherry picked and truncated the facts, quotes, etc. No mention that throughout 2018, Ripple's XRP sales represented only 0.095% to 0.43% of global XRP volume. And in 2019, those sales amounted to 0.22% of the overall trading volume. So they keep commenting, but now the SEC is trying to use all of this somehow against them. Let me see. So there's something else here. All right. I mean, to me, it's amazing, to see how this unfolds and the language they use. But I did see something come up here. So DNI, what's up, my man? What's going on? On the chain, they're still fighting over discovery. The case is just walking up the stairs and hasn't even entered the courtroom yet. They haven't even started litigating the actual case. Oh yeah, can you imagine that? I mean, this is just over discovery. They haven't even got to the point where the case is going to be heard yet. So it's amazing. It's amazing as they're tripping. Like you said, they're walking up the stairs. They're going down this path and they haven't even gotten to discovery yet. So, and the SEC has been trying to hide also. I mean, there's certain things that they don't want to reveal. There's certain things they're not going to want to show. And, all of these things are relevant. They don't want to focus on the collateral damage of the investors in XRP in the crypto space. They don't want to focus on the fact that there's 8 years of radio silence from the SEC while all these things are going on, while there's exchanges all over the country that were moving XRP and had to have received some form of permission. Gensler, we reviewed some of Gensler's comments the other day talking about how there needs to be a cop on the beat. And I agreed with him. There has to be rules of the road, rules of engagement, some regulatory clarity. But that doesn't come from the SEC. That comes from Congress. And, and so in order to get there, in order to get any of this to the point it needs to get to, we need either a big outcome from a case like this, or, we need some congressional action to actually start putting some clarity into this space. So let's see. Exactly. So from Gensler's perspective, and this is something I've underscored right from the beginning, it doesn't matter that he taught a course at MIT. It doesn't matter how smart he is. It doesn't even matter what his true opinions are of cryptocurrency. He's basically given an objective. He's given an agenda, and he has to follow that agenda. He has to follow that narrative. So if he goes against those that put him in that position, and maybe those that put him in the position also have a narrative, so that all is very, very, critical in this space. We have to look at everything, that he doesn't just go and voice his opinion. He has to go based on the rules on the book and the guidance of the administration. That's who he answers to. And so in order to create those rules of the road, and we talked about this the other night, the CFTC, so we looked at some of the congressional bills from Darren Soto, and some of the bills that he presented on cryptocurrency are specifically geared towards investigating, getting the CFTC or the FTC or others within the space to actually do something. Like that one bill that passed got the SEC and the CFTC. They have to workshop and they have to give feedback. Now, the only way the SEC and the CFTC and the FTC and FinCEN, all those government letter organizations, the only way they can really act on something is if there's a bill coming through Congress to give them the right direction. Either there's laws on the books or in pretty much every scenario. So they have to tell them, hey, you guys are going to create this work group and you're going to converse and talk about this space. And you're going to give us some feedback on this space. Granted, those bills, can't even make it through Senate yet. So even the one that passed sitting in the Senate, no idea where it's going to end up. And yet, so here we have the SEC still spinning their wheels without anything. So here we have Frank D was saying, I was watching his MIT course before I realized he was at the SEC. So I'm still sort of offended. Yeah. I mean, the guy comes in, he can only do what he can do based on the limitations of the position, just like Hester Pierce comes out and had statements. Even Jay Clayton and Hinman, when they were in, came out and had statements. Even with SEC logos behind them, they basically say, this is in our own personal capacity. We're making these statements. We're not saying it on behalf of the SEC. And we did at one point, we went through, I got to find that document again, read through, and basically the SEC can only provide guidance. They don't write law, and they can, dictate and say, hey, they were telling the banks and the financial institutions, you guys have to have, when you're doing margins, and you would need to have all that cash on hand. And all the banks, JP Morgan, all the big banks got caught with their pants down and didn't have the call on the margin. They weren't holding the dollars. And so they got fined. And they gave them a period of time. They said, you need to fulfill this obligation by X date. And basically they were saying, you have to do it. But it's not a commandment. It's the SEC just merely giving guidance and saying, this is what we recommend you do. Because if they don't do it, the next step is much worse, which is where the SEC would then file a lawsuit against them. Then it's settled in the court of law. But the SEC themselves doesn't really have the power or authority to do much other than bring case, a lawsuit. They can make some identification. They can say, we think it's an unregistered security. They do all the investigation. They dig up the data. They then put the case together and file a lawsuit, just as they did against Kick with the Kin token. And we saw that came out, even that one, a $5 million fine, and then nothing. I mean, they gave them some period of time where they had to come back to the SEC to let them know if they were going to sell more Kin token. But from a retail investor perspective, this was under Clayton, I believe. But from a retail investor perspective, nobody had any clarity. There was no outcome. So with this case, the one thing that we know is not only did they, need to settle it officially, but there has to be an outcome. There has to be, here's what XRP is. It either is an unregistered security or it's not. If Ripple, if they could show that Ripple was selling an unregistered security back in 2012, 2013, and moving forward after that, it's not, well, then Ripple pays a fine or whatever. But there's this period of time that, again, the SEC has ignored it completely. And so where is the SEC, kind of in all of this? So now it's got to go, it's going to the court to get, some normalcy on this whole thing. So anyhow, it's so crazy. XRP is magic. That's right. Huh. BZ Comedy, what's up? Kramer. So, see. Expat Explorer says the government sucks. I worked for them most of my life and they're terrible. DNI saying, we want some videos, DNI. Want you to come back and make some more videos. What's up? What is up? So, XA said, hell yeah, Jeff has me fired up this morning. I haven't even finished my first cup of coffee. That's how we got to go. Got to build it up. Now, as you get into this, now let's look at Devon. Hang on. Scott, you can stop ranting. Take a break. Devon Steve on the chain. I reckon the SEC are a bit frustrated with us. So many XRP holders taking an interest and being quite vocal. Exactly. I don't think anyone's ever seen anything like this, where they're actually coming out and supporting the one side like that. It doesn't exist. And so now here you go. They are frustrated, and it shows that they're frustrated. They're frustrated in the commentary, in this writing, even the fact that there's a lawsuit against them. He said, and they even singled it out here, proposing elevated amicus, cure status for certain XRP investors. I don't know if that was, but I mean, it's amazing to me. They just, I don't know if they get it. I don't know. I think they're a little bit lost in their self. So I want to put this up. I think this is, let's go to some positive info here. Now, let me see if I can open this first. Where's the video? All right. We'll let it play through the ad. Let me get my headset. so we can we'll play through it here. But this one is actually Jim Bianco was on CNBC. Let me make sure I pause this right. Okay. So this was Jim Bianco on CNBC. Whoops, let me get this. Hang on. Oscar Nash, what is up with that? That's awesome. The SEC judge, we're not 100% sure, but it might be magic. We should send one of those shirts to the SEC attorneys. That would be pretty hilarious. Let's see. SEC seems to be trying anything to destroy Ripple, XRP. It simply makes no sense when you. Well, that's the other part of it. You look at it from a global perspective. You got to go out away from the micro, away from what's happening in the US, pull back from a global perspective. And that's part of the case is that, from a global perspective, XRP is not a security. XRP is being utilized. You even have the tapping in to ODL on a global scale. We even know that MoneyGram used the ODL solution for their foreign currency exchange. And they saved a ton of money. And even that transition, we brought this up. And I think this is probably one of the most significant elements in this whole thing that I hope it actually has some relevance in the case, which it should, is that when Ripple invested in and bought all of those shares of MoneyGram, and then they gave them XRP, which was then sold, all of that was in filing. All of that was very transparent and revealed way ahead of time. So I think, I don't even know that the SEC has an agenda to destroy. I think now they're upset. I think now it's become more personal. And once the SEC takes it personally, I think we're entering into a very bad position, spot, not for Ripple, not for the case, but in general, that the SEC is going into this with a chip on their shoulder, and they're upset because the retail, who they're supposed to be protecting, the retail isn't happy with them. They're extremely upset. So yeah, so I do think that they're definitely taking this somewhat in the wrong way too. So the SEC is damaging business. It is. The SEC is, the impact that the SEC has had is all over the place. I mean, it's amazing to me. It's amazing. So, all right, let's go to this one now. Oh, wait, I got to share it first. Hang on. Oh, you know what? Hang on a second. Got to stop sharing. Got to start over again. Hang on a second. I just say Chip. We're like, where's Chip? Them to Chip. We don't know what happened to Chip. Here we go. Let's back this up. Ready? Hopefully I don't replay the ad.
What are the two important drivers you see in the cryptocurrency space right now?
Well, one of them is the whole decentralized finance movement, which is simply rebuilding the financial system in a new way. I think that's got a lot of promise, and that's really what's significant. The problem is the other driver is kind of an out-of-control casino with people betting on these coins going up and down, and it kind of masks the bigger picture of what's going on there. But if you focus on that bigger picture, that the financial system is being remade, and that will be successful, which I think it will be. A lot of these cryptocurrency protocols that we look at, and some of these coins like Ethereum, are going to be a lot higher way down the road, but you're going to have to stomach through much more of what we saw in the last week coming in the next several months or year or so.
I think that this was, that to me is a really, really great perspective. He said a lot of important things here, from multiple perspectives. One, focusing in on DeFi. Two, focusing in on the financial system that's in place right now is somewhat in trouble. And many have looked at, what's going on in this current financial space as being in trouble. It's been driven there. And so now he's looking at this crypto space, and he said with DeFi is rewriting the rules of finance. And when you rewrite the rules of finance, there are going to be those that are going to see it as a complete obstacle, or they're going to put obstacles in the way that they don't want the rewriting of finance. They like it the way it is. Why? Because they understand the rules. They've got all of the systems structured in a way that benefit them. So in that scenario, what he's saying, with DeFi coming in, changing everything, and then he's looking at a lot of the crypto space. There's a lot of highs, a lot of lows. It hasn't reached normalcy yet. It hasn't reached full mainstream yet. Once it reaches full mainstream, then the sky's the limit. And we're getting there right now. We've moved through multiple different phases in the crypto market, in the digital asset space, with blockchain. And we've moved from, what we're talking about, 2010, 2011, 2012. It's like almost like fetus stage. It's not even born yet, or just born. And it's just coming into being, but there's still a lot of obstacle, that could end it. And then it starts to mature, and then it reaches toddler stage. I think toddler stage happened like in 2017, 2018. It was the first time, even though there were other times there, because you had they were just sitting, then they started, getting up, then they started crawling. So you had all those phases where you constantly had an increase, you constantly had development within the crypto space, where the market was always trending up, but it will always come back down, because in that infancy stage, as the toddler's growing up, finally you get to 2017, which was the first time that this toddler got up and walked, took the first few steps, and you're like, oh my God. At that point, 2017, 2018 was an awakening for the mass market. And that was the first time that the toddler walked officially. It might, they might have gotten up before, but this is the first time, not just took a few steps forward, which was every little increase along the way, but this is the first time you saw the toddler walking. 2017, 2018, Bitcoin hits $20,000. Then the toddler falls back down again, and the market is kind of in a low. It goes into this bear market cycle. But during that period of time, not only does the toddler learn how to walk, but the toddler learns how to run, and then the toddler learns how to talk. By the time we get to where we're at right now, so when we saw 2020 and we started to see the bear market go into the bull market, that's because the toddler moved from just walking, running, saying a few words, to speaking full sentences. So now in this period of time, 2020, 2021, this market is now talking. And when it's talking, then you know what the next level is, because they keep learning, they keep developing in this stage. And so this market has moved out of all of that. And now we see projects. And like he's saying, we see these ecosystems, these platforms. You have all these entities that are popping up all over the place, like Polkadot and PancakeSwap and Uniswap. And we have Flare that's going to come online soon. And, then you've got all these other things that are going on with Polygon, Matic, HBAR. We see, big institutional investors moving into Bitcoin. We see RippleNet, expanding their presence with Ripple, or Ripple expanding their presence with RippleNet on a continuous basis. And we see all of this stuff happening, which is amazing. Yes, that is a lemon tree, by the way. But, you have all these amazing things happening. And now the market is identifying the reality of all of this. It's not going away. We've heard it from, we've heard it from Cathie Wood. You've heard it from even, crazy speak from Elon Musk as he's playing with the system. We've heard it from Michael Saylor, what he believes. Even MicroStrategy's CFO had big commentary on that. Even Carl Icahn is getting into the game. Even what's his name? I forget his name. Guy from Shark Tank, Mark Cuban. He's investing in I think he invested, what was it? Did he invest anything in Polygon? And there's others that are getting into the space. Some of them are just investing in the platforms. Some might just invest in Coinbase. Others are going to invest in whatever. And then you see that as this market is so mature, Brian Brooks taking over as CEO of Binance US. Big move. We see banking taking root in Wyoming. We see all of these things being orchestrated in this short period of time. Short. We're talking about over the past year. So now once that toddler is speaking full sentences, what happens next? Now he grows up and he goes more into, his he's going to be, he's going to start growing and learning and exploring things now, because he can explore. He can get out a little bit on his own. He can go out and play sports and run and get into stuff. And sometimes that stuff isn't going to be good. And there's going to be bad times and good times. But that's the direction the market's. And there's a big identification right now that that's the case. Now, you look at traditional finance, and traditional finance is somewhat, can be perceived as scary. Now, there are those that are saying that what's happening right now within this space, from an inflation perspective, I should add this to the stream. I don't know why hang on a second. There's something I got to get rid of. There we go. Okay. So, so we look at this and we start seeing inflation. Why? Because of current economic standards, our current finance system, right? The current structure is weighted heavily in the direction of inflation, especially what they're doing right now. And they're making the economy in a negative image. So DeFi, decentralized finance, cryptocurrency has really put personal responsibility back in the hands of the people all over the world. It's given people a taste of what capitalism and personal responsibility can do at the smallest level. You can invest in yourself and you can make yourself better. And the government will never make things better for you. Never. If you end up relying on the government from a generational perspective, then that entire society will be destroyed from within. And we see examples of this all over the world. You see examples of this in the US for sure. The government agenda of manipulation of those population centers is destructive, extremely destructive. You've taken out the personal responsibility element, and it's a failure. In the UK years ago, I don't know if they still do it, anyone who came out of high school used to go on the government dole until they got a job. The government paid them money when they got out of high school, simply because they got out of high school. And how is that smart? It's not smart. How is it smart right now that after a year in the US of businesses closing all around the country, ridiculous mandates that wouldn't allow people outside to run their business in certain states. And now all of this time goes by. Now, all of a sudden, there's measure after measure after measure where they call it stimulus. At some point, there's an accounting for that stimulus. You can't just keep printing money that you don't have. Not just borrowing it, but printing it. And it gets out of control. And when you keep printing, you're detrimentally impacting the valuation of your currency. Now, when you detrimentally impact the valuation of your currency, you get inflation. Why? Because things are more expensive. And this is exactly what's starting to happen. Now, right now, the administration is claiming it doesn't exist. They're trying to, put a blindfold on everybody's eyes. Yet, all of the media is starting to talk about inflation, little bits. So by the fall, when inflation kicks in and prices are significantly higher, they can then, it'll just be an easier conversation. But look at this, surging price, key inflation metric just hit a 29-year high. It's crazy, right? You have the cost of things that are going up that's staggering, like wood, gas, metal, chlorine for pools, food, all sorts of things. You're seeing, just skyrocket, right? And then you have organizations like, Costco that are feeling the pinch. Costco's seen inflation about impacting a slew of consumer products. A slew. I don't know what exactly. Let's look. Aluminum foil, shipping containers. 20% spike in the cost of meat over the past month. 20%. I mean, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. But during the same period, they got a $2.75 per share profit. But either way, look, on the plus side, there was a boost from gas inflation as price at the pump soared 30% nationally. 30% in gas prices. So, I mean, it's difficult to look at this stuff, but look at I want to show you something else. Now, this is a real world example. This is right here. You can see the current existing financial structure is having a major issue right now. And you're going to see more manipulation, throughout the year. You'll see it all over the world. But look at this one. All right. There we go. Okay. So this one here, this I thought was key. Look at this. Declining foreign reserves. This is in Egypt. So in May, look at this. The Central Bank of Egypt announced that foreign currency reserve dipped about $3 billion in April, bringing the total drop to $8 billion, nearly a fifth of the $45.5 billion in holdings recorded in February. The Egyptian pound, meanwhile, has remained largely stable, fueling concerns about a repeat of the crippling currency shortages of 11-15 and currency shortages. Then you have a run on the banks. Then the people don't have money to spend. It's crazy. Look, Egypt has moved to shore up its currency reserves to stave off such a currency crisis by bringing in $2.8 billion under the IMF's Emergency Rapid Finance Instrument. You know what that is? That's the SDR, right? So they're going to turn to relying on the SDR, borrowing against it. Look, here it is. Wealth preserving assets such as gold and SDR, special drawing rights are also kept as reserved, Hassan had added in the central bank. So he's a former central bank governor. So this is another example. This is in Egypt. Egypt, these countries, they're already not stable to begin with, right? They already have issues, whether it's Egypt or Greece or Cyprus or Turkey or Venezuela or Lebanon, or I mean, the list goes on and on and on, where there's instability, and you can see things happen rapidly over there. Here, it's not going to happen quite like that. But there's a major issue. So you can begin to see where DeFi can definitely help a country that's in dire need already, where they could have potentially avoided some of the crisis by implementing some form of DeFi, even, being able to preserve their asset and make sure that there's some value to what's going on over there, because it's been mismanaged. Their economies definitely mismanaged, definitely also then relying on entities like the IMF, which, by the way, is an NGO. It's a non-government organization that is private. So, who does the IMF, even though, they have this basket of goods, the SDR, was it 5-6 different currencies, like the dollar and the pound and the yen and the renminbi, the Chinese renminbi was added to it, the euro. You know, what's their overall purpose? What is their objective here? And why is a country, why do they have to go to the IMF to get these loans? And how is that going to benefit them to offset? I mean, that's basically what it's there for. The the IMF and their SDR, this basket of currency that has some value, and then they can lend out what they hold. So, through this emergency rapid financing instrument, they want to put $9 billion. $9 billion. Now, when you put that kind of money in, aren't you now somehow responsible back to the IMF? Does IMF then hold some sort of sway over the next decision-making process, of that government now that they bails you out? Is it, what happens at that point? So you can see, I look at it. Sorry, I'm not even sharing my screen. I'm highlighting stuff. I keep doing that. There you go. I highlighted that. So, I mean, it's crazy, but this is where you start looking at these individuals, like the video that we played, with who was that now? Jim Blanco. You look at what he's saying. You look at Alex Mashinsky, some of the things that he said on the show, that out of this ash heap, you're going to get all new leaders moving forward in the finance space as the rules are getting rewritten, and you start implementing the smart contracts, and you start streamlining the movement of money across these rails that Ripple has been laying, all over the world, and streamlining the movement of money so you can move money like sending an email or a text message. Why not? Why shouldn't you have instant settlement in today's day and age? Why shouldn't all country currencies, why shouldn't you be able to maintain the sovereignty of your own individual currency, yet have instant transaction and settlement when you deal with someone in another country? We're in 2021, for God's sakes. I can call anyone anywhere in the world with any of these apps. You can get onto Duo or WhatsApp or Signal or whatever you use to send, whether it's a text message or a video message or whatever it is, and you can reach anybody anywhere. You can send emails to anybody at any point. I talk to people all over the world. I'm doing business with someone in Venezuela right now, and we're going to help them, hopefully. And it's amazing, right? And it's just instant. Why shouldn't we have instant monetary settlement? Why are there these major blockades other than those individual governments wanting to take a piece of the action every single time you do a transaction? Or the banking system, because you go through SWIFT, which was a monopoly. And through that monopoly, there's little bits of money going all over the place. When we use a letter of credit, there's little bits of money going all over the place. There's cost of transaction, which sometimes can be really high. Then there's delays in that process, and there's high foreign currency exchange cost because everybody's using their own individual currency. Some countries, you're not allowed to keep a foreign bank account. Most countries, you're not allowed to hold a bank account with another currency in it, unless you have a business in another country where they have an account in that country's currency, and they then have to fund that account somehow. So there's all of these intrigues that are going on that much of it, not all of it, but much of it just evaporates when you implement DeFi. You have decentralized finance. You're democratizing money all over the world on a global scale, democratizing money. How amazing is that? We have people that come here from all over the world watching us. And could you imagine you're sitting in anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. You could be over in Estonia, you could be in Bosnia, you could be, in Nigeria, you could be down in Bolivia, you could be, doesn't matter where you are, but imagine now you're able to transact with people all over the world seamlessly, inexpensively, And you can do it on a personal level. You don't have to involve all these other entities in that process because it's your money, it's your life, and you should be able to do what you want and build it the way you see fit without a lot of, you could be in Ghana. Exactly. Golden. You could be in Ghana. Why not? I mean, it's amazing. It really is amazing. The possibilities are limitless at this point. And the one thing that all of these government body organizations don't like, and I'll leave you guys with this, the one thing they don't like is that it's bringing the entire world, the people, together. That's what it's doing. That's what our technology has done. And that's what the digital asset space will do. It gets everybody closer. It shortens and closes the gap between people. Because if I want to go to Colombia or wherever, I go down to Ethiopia and I want to buy coffee beans in Ethiopia, and I can find the farmer in Ethiopia that's growing beans, I can then potentially do a complete transaction with them and buy their coffee beans directly from them seamlessly, because they don't have to worry about all the complexities of infrastructure. And I could send them XRP, I could send them Bitcoin, I could send them whatever, especially if we had an easy to use app or whatever. We can do a little smart contract and I could buy their coffee beans. They can package them up and ship them to me without all of the complexity that goes around it. It really could be amazing. You have people that are in parts of the world where they don't have access to banks. Even in some of the more westernized, so to speak, countries, more technologically advanced, they don't have the same freedom of banking like we do in the United States, where you can basically do everything online. It's amazing. So, but anyhow, that was awesome. You guys are awesome. If you're brand new here to On the Chain, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifier. That way you get notified every time we go live, and we do stream live. We do stream live 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back on tomorrow night. Chip and I right here on The Chain. And we will look forward to seeing you guys all at that time, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And until then, have an amazing weekend. And we will check you out on the next one. I'm out of here. Before I do that, Sir John, I got to play this one for you.
Wie einst Lily Marlin. Wie einst Lily Marlin.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.